Hello everyone and welcome to another anatomy video. This is Dr. Ayan from the Veterinary Anatomy channel, and today we will talk about the growth anatomy of the eye and all related structures. So let's get started. As you can see in the lateral view, external view here of the eye, we can see the eye located there inside, of course, the orbita, inside the orbital cavity, which we are going to dissect later. At the same time, here we have, the eye has three lids. So the upper lid is this one here. This is the lower lid. Here we can see the cilia attached to each lid. If you want to see the third lid, you have to try to find it here coming from the medial angle of the eye. This is the third lid, which in some animals, cause some problems if some of the, dust or sand or foreign bodies comes and stick here under the third lid. So it's something we have to check and examine. If there's any problem related to the eye. This is the third lid. In general, the eye has medial angle. This is the medial angle of the eye. This is the lateral angle of the eye. And, here at the medial angle exactly, we can see this structure there is the lacrimal caruncle. This one here. So now we will dissect, remove the skin completely, and after that we will try to dissect the eye and look at the eye muscles. Okay, after removing the surrounding skin, we cut the zygomatic arch, as you can see, and remove it completely. Remove it completely, like this. Here, let me just tell you that behind the eye, behind the orbita there, we can find a very big, fat pad here to protect the eye from behind. Here. This fat pad here. Here we can see the eyeball. The eyeball at the beginning here, we can see some of the muscles extends between the eyeball backward. On the dorsolateral surface of the eyeball, here in this area, we can find this organ or this structure here, the lacrimal gland. This is here, the lacrimal gland located dorsolaterally on the eyeball from outside here. In general, the eyeball has three layers. The outside one is the fibrous layer, is that one which we can see here, divided into two parts. The white part here is the sclera, surrounds the eyeball completely. It has a lot of connective tissue, collagen fibers, elastic fibers. It gives the eyeball its framework and protect the eyeball and, of course, maintains the pressure of the eyeball. The second part of the fibrous coat or fibrous layer is this part here, which is more transparent and called the cornea. This is the cornea here. So the fibrous coat or fibrous layer or the external layer has two parts, the sclera, this white structure, and the cornea. The middle and the internal layers called, the middle one is the vascular layer, the internal one is the retina. We will look at them later. Now I'm going to remove the fat pad. I'm going to disconnect the eyeball from the orbita completely, and after that I will show you the muscles which are there to move the eye in all directions. Here One more time. In the middle here, I hope it's clear, we have this black spot here is the pupil. The pupil is formed by what's called the iris. So this is the iris here. One more time, I would like to show you the third eyelid which we kept here. This is the third eyelid. This area here, let me show you, this one here. And let me also tell you that even if the upper lid and the lower lid is not there, in this case, we still be able to know where is medial and where is lateral. Look at the medial angle of the eye and the lateral angle of the eye. You will find that the medial angle of the eye is more rounded comparing to the lateral one, and we will use this to know where is medial, where is lateral. Once we look at the optic nerve, I will tell you how to know where is dorsal, where is ventral, and in this case we will know which eye is it, the right or the left, even if the eye is not located in its place here inside the orbiter. As we said, we dissected the fat pad and removed it completely. We separated the eyeball from the surrounding structure and from the orbiter, and we dissected the muscles of the eye. So in general, there are 7 muscles of the eye, 4 straight muscle of the eye. We have the lateral straight muscle, the medial straight muscle, the dorsal straight muscle, and the ventral straight muscle of the eye. I will show you this muscle. So from the lateral surface of the eyeball here, caudally toward the optic canal, we can see this muscle here. This is the lateral straight muscle of the eye. Dorsally, here we have the dorsal straight muscle of the eye. If we move to the medial surface there, we can see the, I hope it's clear, just a minute. This one here is the medial straight muscle of the eye, this one here. And ventrally, of course, we have another straight muscle, is this muscle there. Let me try to show you this muscle. This muscle here is the ventral straight muscle of the eye. So in general, as you can see in this view, we can see the lateral straight muscle and the dorsal straight muscle of the eye. On the medial surface, we have the medial straight muscle, and ventrally we have the ventral straight muscle of the eye. So this is 4 muscles. Now, these muscles are responsible, of course, to move the eye laterally and medially, up and down, If the animal needs to or wants to move the eye laterally, in this case, the lateral straight muscle of the eye will be contracted, the medial will be relaxed. The same, if we're talking about the movement up and down regarding the dorsal and the ventral straight muscle of the eye. So there are another 2 muscles which are located oblique. We have the ventral oblique muscle of the eye. This one here, as you can see, it's straight, start from this surface of the eyeball and moves medially in an oblique course. This is the ventral oblique muscle of the eye. Dorsally there, we have another muscle with the same course. This one here is the dorsal oblique muscle of the eye. The dorsal oblique muscle of the eye. So these 2 muscles are there to help, the animal to rotate the eye somehow a little bit. And of course, it helps also moving the eye laterally and medially. Again, so here we have the ventral oblique muscle of the eye, and dorsally we have the dorsal oblique muscle of the eye. So in general, so the last muscle which we are going to discuss is the retractor muscle of the eye, which is located directly surrounding the optic nerve coming from the eye cauda ventrally, and it's embedded inside this fat here. So between the rectus muscles or the straight muscles and the retractor muscle, we can find this fat. So let me remove this fat, and after that I will show you the retractor muscle and the optic nerve. See you soon. As promised, so we remove the fat located between the straight muscles of the eye and the retractor muscle. So let me just tell you again, this is the dorsal straight muscle of the eye. Here we have the lateral straight muscle of the eye. So if we just move them to the side, we can see these bundles of muscles here. This is the retractor muscle of the eye, this one here. Of course, it surrounds the optic nerve completely. That means if we go deeply there, we can see also something like this. It's one muscle again. So if we move the rectus muscles here to the side, this is the retractor muscle of the eye. This is the retractor muscle of the eye. Of course, we have some of them on the medial side. If we go, between the different parts of the retractor muscle, we can find another, fat pad here surrounding this structure here, located just in the middle here. This is here the optic nerve. So this is here the optic nerve. Let me just show you exactly what I mean. So if we go this way, this one here is the optic nerve, which leaves the caudal border of the eyeball and moves through the optic canal there to the brain. So the optic nerve is the cranial nerve number 2. This is the optic nerve. Where is the location? It leaves the caudoventral surface of the eyeball. I will show you that later, and moves between the different parts of the retractor muscle of the eye up to the, of course, optic canal there. This is the optic nerve. As you can see here, we removed the eye from the orbita completely and they dissected, and they would like to show you exactly what I mean with the rectus muscles, the 4 rectus muscle. This is here the dorsal straight muscle of the eye, the ventral straight muscle of the eye. This is the medial straight muscle of the eye, and this is the lateral straight muscle of the eye. And as I told you, there are 2 oblique muscles, one located ventrally, so this is ventrally, this is the ventral oblique muscle of the eye, and this is the dorsal oblique muscle of the eye. As you can see, so rectus muscles, they start from the outside surface of the eyeball, and normally they move backward. Of course, I just reflect them to the side. Okay, and now once we remove all of this, let me just move to the side and show you the retractor muscle. This is the retractor muscle. As you can see, it surrounds or comes from the all surface of the eyeball and moves also caudally. This is the retractor muscle of the eye. If you want to see the optic nerve, you have to dissect between this muscle, and after that you can see, of course, the optic nerve moving backward toward the optic canal. As promised, let me tell you how to know if this eye is the right or the left eye, even if it's not inside the orbita, and even if you don't have the upper, lower, and the third lid. So in this case, we need, like the bones, as we learned before, we need to know where is dorsal, where is ventral, where is lateral, and where is medial. So rostral and caudal is very clear. Rostral, where we have the cornea; caudal, where we have all muscles and the nerve, the optic nerve. So what else? Let's look where the dorsal, where the ventral surface of this eye. In this case, you have to go back and look at the optic nerve, and here let me just remind you that the optic nerve leaves the eyeball caudoventrally. That means the surface next to the optic nerve is the ventral surface. So caudoventral, it doesn't leave the eyeball from the center here, caudoventrally. That means this is the ventral surface and this is the dorsal surface. Let's just move it this way here again. Okay, again, this is the dorsal, and here we have the ventral surface. Dorsal ventral, we just need now to know where is the medial surface and the lateral surface. In this case, please look at the right and the medial and the lateral angle of the eye. You will find that the medial angle of the eye is more rounded, comparing to the lateral one. The lateral one is more sharp, sharper than the medial one. So once we know that this is dorsal, ventral, because of the optic nerve, this is medial surface because of the rounded angle, medial angle of the eye, and this is the lateral. That means the medial surface should faces the nose, or should be toward the midline. This is the midline of the head in this case, and in this case we are talking about the right eye. Again, this is dorsal, put it up, ventral down, and after that put the medial surface of the eye toward the midline, toward the nose, and you will know if this is the right or the left eye. In this case, of course, we cannot put the eye on the left side, because the medial surface in this case will be away from the nose or from the midline. It has to be on the right side, and in this case we have the right eye. Thank you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the eye transversally like this and show you the internal structures. As I said before, in this case we have to cut all three layers of the eyeball, including the fibrous layer, which we can see outside, the vascular layer, and finally the internal layer, or the retina. So my colleague will help me to hold this one here, and exactly like this. I will cut it completely in this way here. Of course, what we can see is the fluid located inside the eye. I will cut it completely, if you allow me here. Okay. And now this is the two halves of the eye. We can see the fluid, which here on the table. It's more gelatin, as you can see here. The retina is a very thin layer, lined, or the internal surface of the eyeball. This is the retina, where we have the nerve cell bodies. The nerve cell bodies send the axons to the what's called the blind spot, the origin of the optic nerve. Let me just clean this area a little bit. The dark area, or the dark layer, which we can see there, represents actually the vascular layer, or the middle layer. So this is the vascular layer. Here we can see the other two parts of the vascular layer, including the ciliary body and the iris. I will go through them. The final and the external layer, the white colored structure here, is the sclera, which is part of the fibrous layer, or the external layer of the eyeball. Normally in the animals, in this area, and in some other animals like ox, horse, sheep, whatever, or carnivores, of course, they have what's called the tabetum lucidum here, to reflect the light entering the eye. Here in this half, the rostral half of the eye, we can see the lens located exactly in the middle, fixed in this position by what's called the suspensory ligaments, coming from the ciliary processes from the ciliary body. Exactly, let me just take it out. I will take it out. This is the lens, this is the lens, which has two convex surfaces. It should be transparent, as you can see here. Let me just put it to the side like this, and here I will just wash this one, and I will come to you. Okay, here, as you can see, we have, I hope it's clear, this area here presents the ciliary body. Ciliary body is part of the vascular layer of the eyeball. We can also, I don't know if it's clear for you, here we can see the processes of the ciliary body. There in the front area there, we can see the iris. The iris, which forms in the middle here, what's called the pupil, of course, where we can see our hand, through it. So The pupil from front, from rostral, is covered with the cornea, which is transparent, to allow the light to go through it, through the pupil to the retina finally. Again, this is the iris here, is the most rostral located part of the vascular layer. Try just to clean it a little bit here. The iris is that one which has a lot of pigmented cells, to give the color of the eye. This is the iris. This is the iris to form the pupil. If we move it just like this, I can see my finger through it. Yeah, it's not a fresh eye, that's why it's not transparent completely. Okay, here we can see part of the sclera and the cornea. The area between the sclera up to the cornea here is called the limbus. This is the limbus. Again, this is the medial surface, medial angle of the eye, and this is the lateral angle of the eye. After we remove the retina, let me just put it like this. Here we can see the exit area of the optic nerve, or what's called the blind spot or blind area here, where all axons from the retina, from the nerve cells coming from the retina, move here and form finally the optic nerve. Again, the optic nerve, as you can see here, this is exactly the caudal half of the eyeball. The optic nerve doesn't leave the eyeball from the center, but it leaves the eyeball ventrally. That means this is the ventral surface of the eye.